On today's episode of Locked On Mets, we have part 2 of my conversation with Aram Leighton going over just baseball's top 10 Mets prospects. Today, it is all about the top 4. We discuss Ronny Mauricio, why both Aram and I are down on him as a prospect a bit, but why there's still a ton of potential there for the Mets' top shortstop prospect. We dive into the 2 elite third base prospects the Mets have in Brett Baty and Mark Vientos, and then, of course, we talk about the absolute crown jewel of this farm system, Francisco Alvarez, who has the potential to not only be the best catching prospect in baseball, but soon become the best overall prospect in Major League Baseball. It's an exciting show. Let's get to it right now.
You are Locked On Mets, your daily New York Mets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Now let's get to the players everyone wants us to talk about, the top 4. We'll start with Ronny Mauricio, the one you're not as high on, the one I'm not as high on. I think that the listeners of this show have heard me talk about why I'm not the biggest fan of Ronny Mauricio. Plenty. I've compared him to the Med Rosarios of the past, where if you have a prospect that is very toolsy and is getting a lot of acclaim, could be a good piece to consider trading. And I would not be surprised if the Mets do make a blockbuster trade at some point during the season or before, if Mauricio is the guy headed out. What concerns you the most about Ronny Mauricio as a prospect?
You know what I'm going to say. I think everyone knows
at everything.
He swings at legitimately every single pitch that comes his way. He swung at 44% of pitches outside the zone last year. And I want to start, though, by advocating for Ronny Mauricio in the respect that the Mets love to rush guys, and they, I think, have rushed Mauricio just way too much. It's easy to forget that this guy he's 20 years old, right? He just turned 21, maybe, or is he still?
I think he might have just turned 21, but yeah.
But I mean, regardless,
last year he was 20.
Yeah, he was 20 for the vast majority of the season, if not still 20. And this is a guy that's continued to be pushed.
Still 20, by the way. Yeah, turns 21 April April 4th.
Dude, and he's already in Double-A after not excelling at any level. What is the big deal if he repeats a level? Why didn't he repeat high A or stay and finish the year in high A? Or why didn't he repeat low A a little bit more? I'm okay with him doing a third season down there. This is a guy that came and made the jump stateside really quickly, and is a guy that has a profile that's risky. Take your time with him. So I think him being kind of thrown to the wolves a little bit was nuts, because after putting up a 307 on base percentage in low A, they're like, all right, go to high A. And that was with no 2020 season. So, look, there were some improvements. The power is there. The power is legit. His bat speed is crazy. But the problem is, it's just the approach hasn't shown to get too much better. He started to do it a bit at the end where he cut his swing down a bit in terms of his aggressiveness. But it seems like he can't adjust that without just fully changing who he is as a hitter. So he really needs to figure that out. And I think that the only hope of that is through more ABs and more experience. So I hope he spends the entire year in Double-A next year. And don't move him to Triple-A just because. Please, just leave him in Double-A. He has a ton of tools. He hit 20 jacks last year. But you know what? He's struggling right now in the Winter League. And I do have my overall concerns that, it's just not going to happen for him. But the crazy thing is he has good bat-to-ball skills. So it's almost working against him, because he swings at bad pitches and makes contact with them and rolls over or pops up, because he does a good job of getting a piece of it. But that's something that could work in his favor in terms of spoiling tough pitches and doing things. So he just needs the right guidance. But it seems like by now you would have hoped he would have figured it out. This is a big year. This is kind of the defining year for me on him. I think you could see him like a Nick Plummer turn it around and figure it out way later if he struggles this year. But I think this is the last year where we're really saying, okay, can he stay on this trajectory and get to where he needs to go? I think if he really struggles this year, we're going to kind of shift our focus and, keep him in the background and see what happens. But on the defensive side too, loud tools, misses the routine plays, a lot of errors. So it just seems like that's the common theme through his game, and those are not guys that I'm, as excited about. But the power is there. I will say that, and the speed though is kind of diminished too. You're betting a lot on the bat, and the bat is a huge risk.
Yeah, loud tools makes a lot of errors. Again, reminds me of Rosario. I would always say that if you just took someone off the street who hadn't been watching baseball for 5 years and put him out there before a Mets game, they would look at Met Rosario and be like, "This is the best player on the team. Look
Yeah.
how talented he is. Look at his BP. Look how fast he is." And then you watch him play and boot 2 ground balls, and just it just never came together for a Med. With Ronny Mauricio, the one thing I will say is I believe that the reason why he ended up in Double-A was because of a COVID outbreak where they needed players. Now, with that said, I don't know if once you make that move, you can start him off in High A again next year. They probably won't. So, like you said, I hope he still spends the entire season in Double-A, and maybe with that he can improve his profile and have a really strong year because there was some things to like. He had a lot of home runs. I mean, that's one good thing he did this past year, but there was a lot to dislike as well with this game.
And the crazy thing too, though, it feels like he's been around forever. 281 professional games is not like the craziest amount in the world. So, again, like he can come out next year and look a lot better and look a lot more refined. But he's got to get the ball in the air more too. And I think that goes with his pitch selection because his home run to fly ball rate's great, which is a testament to his power. 22% of the balls he hit in the air left the yard. But he just wasn't hitting the ball in the air enough. Ton of ground balls. And again, that's pitch selection. So that could make all the difference in the world, but it's a very abstract thing to be able to project because, that's something that he needs to figure out between the ears because a lot of the other parts of his game are good. It just seems like it's the fundamentals and the approach. So very eager to see how that translates next year, but the risk is probably just a bit too much as we update our top 100 list to have him in there. But he's still a really high-end talent in a unique case.
It's the new year, so that means New Year's resolutions. And if yours is about getting fit or eating healthier, make sure you include Built Bar in your plan. Built Bar is the protein bar that tastes like a candy bar, making it so much easier to stick to your resolution because they taste so good, you'll want to eat them. Unlike other protein bars, which can be chalky or waxy, Built Bars are soft and easy to chew, and they come covered in 100% real chocolate. There's also so many flavors to choose from, whether it's the coconut almond bar, peanut butter brownie, raspberry, my personal favorite, cookies and cream, salted caramel, mint brownie, and many more. In fact, Built is always coming out with new limited time flavors. So check out built.com often to see what's new. And when you're there, make sure you use the promo code LOCK15 and you're going to get 15% off your next order. Again, that's promo code LOCK15 for 15% off at built.com. As we talk about home runs, it's time to get to the prospect I've been dying to talk about. Your favorite, my favorite, Mark Vientos. Here's what I want to do. Throw out the glove for a second because you know what? The NL has a DH coming in. Why should Mark Vientos not be the Mets DH on opening day? Because I'm honestly at the point where if it's not opening day, if it's a month into the season, I want JD Davis to get traded yesterday. And I want that door wide open for Mark Vientos to get a ton of at-bats with the Mets this year.
Yeah, so I think when you approach it, again, this is why teams need to figure it the heck out because this is an opportunity where in big league spring training, I would legit give Mark Vientos an opportunity to win the job. And if he's raking in big league spring training, you trade JD Davis right there. I think there's a little bit of, is he going to translate right away? Just because of, his profile. I think Vientos will translate. I totally think he will. But, you never know. And my thing is, the Mets are trying to win right now. And prospects, a lot of guys need 150, 200 plate appearances to get ready. He could also come out, like the article you wrote, Just Baseball, and be the Mets' Pete Alonso. And it is really tough to figure that out because it's different for everybody. But I would love to see Vientos get a shot because the upside there, right? Like if it clicks for Vientos at the big league level, he's giving you 35 homers minimum.
Yeah.
If it clicks for or not even clicks, if JD Davis is playing every day, he's going to be good and you know what you're getting. I would love to see Vientos get a shot here, especially because it's not like the Mets offense. If you're the Marlins, for example, you can't afford to have a guy, your DH, struggle. Your DH has to mash if there's an NL DH because their lineup is weak. The Mets lineup is loaded. So if you want to like roll the dice a little bit at the DH spot, I think you can get away with that. And if Vientos struggles, the bench is so loaded that you can go to one of the other guys. You know, you can go to a Cano here and there. You can go to somebody else and send Vientos back down. So I would love, the more I think about it, to see him up there because the one thing that stands out to me the most about Mark Vientos is that he has made all of the adjustments that we have wanted. We talk about Ronny Mauricio. Vientos has done all of the things that we've wanted to see him do. He has quieted down the swing. He has shortened up. He has improved his approach. He demolishes fastballs maybe as good as anyone, as well as anybody in the minor leagues, and he demolishes velo as well as anybody in the minor leagues. I mean, this is a dude that was OPSing 1,400 against pitches 93, 94 miles an hour and above. And that's all you see in the show. That was part of what Khalil Lee struggled with, a guy who hits fastballs well, just like trying to catch up to the heater and then seeing a hammer was like a crazy thing for him. But with Vientos, he hits curveballs well too. I mean, the guy had a 761 OPS against breaking balls. With what he does against fastballs, that is more than fine. That is more than fine. And he was much more selective. He has the type of power where he's going to, you've seen videos. I think I embedded one in the top 10 where he legit misses it. He misses the baseball. It's not a well-hit ball. Probably would have had a horrible, expected batting average. And it got out. He's that type of dude. And that will translate. That will translate. I'm willing to bet on this guy hitting a lot of home runs at the big league level.
Yeah, I mean, you referenced the article I wrote. I mean, you look at the numbers of him to Pete's last year in the minors, and Vientos is right on line, if not even a little bit better. He slugged a little bit more. I think he would have been on pace off the top of my head to hit like 43 home runs if he had the same amount of at-bats as Pete when Pete hit like 38. So it's just ridiculous pop. He put up a video yesterday of him taking BP. He said, BP at 11, golf at 12. How far do you think he hits the ball off the tee? I said he's probably averaging 350. I mean, it's ridiculous. Can you imagine that?
A long driving competition. Are you kidding me? All these guys, man, it's crazy. These dudes are. I can't imagine seeing them hit a golf ball. I was gonna go. We were gonna go cut loose. Griffin Conine and I. And he has no golf background. He unfortunately broke his hamate bone, and he's good to go. He should be good to go for spring training, but I didn't get to see him launch some at Topgolf. But I was thinking about the same thing. It's like some of these power guys, because Vientos and Griff are in that same like ridiculous power. The thing with Vientos is it's like effortless. So I would love to see him just tee off. I mean, it is crazy. He puts up exit velos, comfortably over 110. But what amazes me the most with him is the carry he gets and the way he backspins baseballs. That's something it's just hard to teach. And that's why he hits fastballs so well. Is it just you got a high spin fastball coming in and you backspin it well. That's why he gets these mishits that carry out of there. That's something that will translate, especially with the big league baseballs. And especially since the Mets will be playing more primetime games. If they keep messing with the baseballs on primetime games, I can guarantee you Mark Vientos is going yard a lot on ESPN.
That's an interesting wrinkle to the season I didn't think about. Primetime games giving Pete Alonso and Mark Vientos just that extra little edge they need to hit an insane amount of home runs. I think that pairing in the middle of the Mets lineup could be really dangerous for years to come. I mean, man, I'm excited about that for sure. So with that, you got Brett Baty, who is maybe the better all-around third base prospect.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, defensively, he's certainly better than Vientos. Probably has a better hit tool, I would imagine. But what would you compare? How would you compare those two?
Yeah, I think power-wise, again, Vientos is one of the bats I'd take power production upside over almost anybody in the minor leagues in terms of just his ability to consistently leave the yard. Baty, bat-to-ball skills are better. Defensively, obviously, is going to be the guy that projects at third base. But Baty needs to get the ball in the air. Like, these guys are very different because Baty hits the ball on the ground way too much. Vientos does a great job of lifting. But that's why I'm eager to see how much power Baty really has in the tank. I think we haven't even seen it yet because he is hitting the ball on the ground way, way, way too much. And 55% ground ball rate when you have the power that Baty has is a little bit, I'm not going to say concerning because he hits and he just mashes and he did the same thing in the Arizona Fall League, but that's something that's going to hold him back from being productive, especially as you get shifted a bit more at the big league level. Is if he hits the ball in the air more, 30 home runs is in the tank. I think he's going to be more of a 25 to 30 home run guy, 280, and get on base at a really good clip. Whereas Vientos, I don't even know what the ceiling is, but the floor is obviously much lower. So that's kind of the comparison between the two. What I like about Baty is the bat to ball is so good for his profile, but I think the bat to ball is what somehow or sometimes results in more ground balls. So trying to find the balance between making a good amount of contact, but also that getting that slug on contact that you want to get as a third baseman with the kind of juice that he has. I mean, he showed us at times how hard he can hit the ball to all fields. But this is a guy that's going to continue to get better. He continues to show that. And I know the Mets are working with him on getting the ball in the air more. And I'm sure that's something that he'll be able to do.
You think he could be someone that might lose some of the average if he taps into more power? I kind of think about him in somewhat similar respects to Michael Conforto when he came up, where we thought he was just going to be this guy that hit a bunch of doubles and hit over 300, and he became more of a 250 hitter, but on base percentage is over, always around 350 and had some power added to his game. Do you think that's something that could happen here with Baty?
It's possible. I think for Baty, he just needs to find the path. It seems like sometimes he's just a little bit flat through the zone. So yeah, I mean, it could result in a little bit less, frequency of base hits and things like that. But I think with the way he walks, he has a good approach. I still think he's going to be, a 270 guy, and hang around 270, 280. I really believe he's a guy that doesn't have to compromise the power or compromise the ability to just spray the ball while hitting for power. I think it's more about leveraging his hitters' counts a bit more. He doesn't have to change who he is. It's just if it's 2-0, man, like let it eat. Let it eat. Go to lift a bit more. Try and do some damage and look for a specific spot. And he doesn't have to change who he is. So I don't think it'll impact him too much in terms of his ability to hit for average and get on base.
And where do we have him again on the top 100? He was in the top 20, wasn't he?
He was right around the 20 to 30 range. As we update it, I'm well into the process of updating our top 100 that should be done in the next couple weeks. He's going to be, a spoiler alert, he'll be in the top 25.
There might be less football being played, but betonline.net has way more stuff to bet on this playoff season. From scores, totals, player performance props, to where the next fire coach is going to land, BetOnline is the number one spot for all things NFL betting in 2022, and it's not just about football. BetOnline.net's basketball, hockey, boxing, and UFC odds coverage is the best in the business, from sports right down to your favorite Vegas casino games. BetOnline is your number one online wagering destination. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to wager on all your favorite sports and play all your favorite games. Bet online, where the game starts. You have two prospects in the top 25, one of them in the top 5, Francisco Alvarez. Anytime when you write a scouting report, and I will include that in the description of this episode, by the way, anytime you write a scouting report and you mention the name Mike Piazza, Mets fans are going to get pretty excited. So how much do you love Francisco Alvarez, and how great is he going to be?
It's so funny, man. I've seen that exact line, and I remember writing it, and I'm like, I wonder if I'm going to get some crap for this. But I remember writing it, so it's like, when have we seen a catcher with this much offensive upside besides, Adley? But, Adley was a college guy. It's a little different. I was like, the Mets haven't seen a guy like this. So you could say, if you say Travis d'Arnaud, I'll spit my water out. He was a really exciting prospect, but it's just not the same. And I've seen that quoted on Reddit and a few other places. And I was like, oh my gosh, Mets fans do love this. But it's true. I mean, the prolific home run power is there. To do what this kid has done, we talk about early with Alex Ramirez making a big jump as an international free agent teenager. What Francisco Alvarez has done at every level is just a joke. I mean, not only is the power there, the ability to hit is there. And he has figured things out that it takes a lot of guys a lot of time to figure out. He's like a muscle hamster. I think that's what Jack McMullen put it on the podcast, on the call up. 5'10", 233 pounds. And when you are that kind of guy, like I was talking about with Nick Plummer, about quiet things down, try to be on time because you don't need a ton of movement to get into your power. His swing, Alvarez's, reminds me a lot of Tyler O'Neill. And in that respect, he starts very pre-stacked, weight stacked on his backside, open stance, and all he thinks about is just bringing that front foot over and then just launching. And that was something Tyler O'Neill did. He's like, I'm going to start with my weight on my backside. I don't have to even think about transferring. I don't have to think about much. I'm just going to bring my foot over and let my freakish bat speed and strength eat. It's exactly what Alvarez does, and that's why he's able to be on time so frequently for a guy of his build and his profile, and that's why he's able to get into so much power. I want to see him use the whole field a bit more. He's a little bit pull happy. That's fine, though, because his pull side power is plus. But, he can use the whole field. I want to see that happen a bit more. But, I mean, the guy just hits everything. He's got stupid power. He's got defensive projection as well. It's impossible to, really knock this guy outside of the top 5, in my opinion. And he could be the number 1 prospect in baseball very soon. I think it's going to be a pretty open competition. But we're going to see guys like Bobby Witt, Julio, and Adley graduate. So it wouldn't blow my mind if he was the number 1 guy pretty soon.
Yeah, I mean, by default, those guys graduate. He just climbs right up that list there. I wanted to check out Alvarez in low A, last year. And I think I tried to go like 2 weeks into the season and he was already gone because he was Barry Bonds in low A.
Yeah, it was a joke.
It's absolutely ridiculous, the numbers he put up. He goes to high A, wasn't Barry Bonds, but he was a damn good player in high A. And yeah, the offense is just ridiculous for a catcher, but the defense is something that I was really interested to read about when I was going through your top prospects list here. You think that he can actually be an above average defensive catcher as well?
Totally. I mean, the arm is there. He's a good athlete. Like, especially when you look at him, I mean, he's a stocky guy, but he moves well. His receiving has gotten better. Love the arm behind the dish. And to me, there's no question he's going to be at least an average catcher with that bat. That's more than fine. But I think he can be above average too, because he's already gotten so many reps. He continues to get better. And the athleticism really shows behind the dish.
How do you weigh with a catching prospect like this, getting him ready defensively and getting that bat to the big leagues? Because I don't think either of us would be surprised if you threw him in an MLB game tomorrow if he went 3 for 5 with 2 double. Like, the guy is just that good as a hitter. Obviously, he still has to go through the upper levels of the minors, but the bat could track really quickly. You still need to develop him as a catcher, though. So how do you weigh those two things?
Dude, that's a great question, because I bet you that the Mets are asking themselves the same thing. And you don't get a lot of cases like this, right? I mean, how often do we big league catchers can't even hit? There's very few that are actually good hitters, right? How often do we get prospects like this? It's just usually they're college guys. High school catchers are always bad. Like, and that's not even being exaggerated. Like, the track record on high school catchers is so bad. International free agency is a little bit different, but it's still like wildly risky. So we don't have much of, many precedents to refer back to. When I look at an Alvarez, I think you have to continue to develop him, on both sides. But you look at someone like Dylan Dingler. He went up to Double-A after mashing in High A last year with the Tigers, catching prospect. And he really struggled offensively because of how much he had to learn defensively too. He just said it was overwhelming, and that was okay. The Tigers said, we don't care about the offense. That's just a bonus. We just wanted to see him get acclimated in Double-A. So when I look at that, it's different with Alvarez, because this is a guy that could legitimately be a plus MLB bat, and he's a catcher. So you want to develop him defensively. You want to keep getting him the right way, getting him going the right way. I think you got to just keep going with a slowish development compared to what they do. Like, you're going to ease him up each level, because you could rush this bat to Double-A right now. Like, you really could. And I don't think they're going to do that. I think they're going to slow burn it a little bit. He'll start the year in High A, I think, and then probably get up to Double-A. If the bat is ahead of the glove, I think we could see him end up taking a little bit more time in the minors. I really think they want to develop this guy into the best catcher in baseball. I really think that's the hope. But the good news is you have the fallback of like a really exciting bat. But with his profile, he's best at the catching position, right? Like, where else is that guy playing?
Yeah.
So, I think for that reason, you're kind of slow rolling him and making sure that the glove continues to translate, even though the bat might be ahead.
Man, did my ears perk up when you just said best catcher in baseball? But it's realistic. It's crazy, man. I'm so excited to see Francisco Alvarez, and he's obviously the jewel of this farm system without a doubt right now.
Oh, no doubt about it. And might be one of the best, one of the jewels of minor league baseball. We will definitely get out there at some point and go catch him this year. Where's High A again?
High A is in Brooklyn.
Oh yeah, okay, that's Brooklyn. I thought
Yeah,
that was it was low A before. They made it high A. We'll get out to
make a whole day, man. You can go to Coney Island, get on one of those roller coasters, eat a hot dog, watch Alvarez.
I've
Good
heard
time.
mixed things about Coney Island.
It's kind of a
I'm
dump,
new
man,
to
I'll
New
be
York.
honest.
I'm new to New York, but I've accidentally taken the subway too long, zoned out, and ended up into Brooklyn. So it's not too far away. We'll make a trip out there. I'm gonna be traveling all over and doing a lot on the prospect side. But Alvarez is one of the guys at the top of my list. So looking forward to doing that. And dude, always a blast being able to talk about these guys, and really excited to see what these big three. I'm gonna keep calling them the big three. Sorry, Ronny Mauricio. Like Mario Chalmers. I'm gonna call these guys the big three here, and I think the big three is gonna do some special things. Two of them at the big league level.
Absolutely. Well, why don't you plug everything, Arm, on your way out? All the
Yeah,
good stuff you got going on.
absolutely. And sorry for sounding a little stuffed up here, but I have the Call Up podcast, which is 3 days a week. Really excited about that. Just interviewed Kyle Nicholas, pitching prospect with the Pirates. I'm going to try to get Mark Vientos, see if I can connect with him. South Florida guy. Would be fun to have him on the pod. But I have prospects on from all 30 systems. Also do rundowns on every MLB system. Just did the Mets as well, although you kind of just heard me do the same thing again. But if you want to get info on the top 100 list that we're updating, anything like that, you can check that out. Of course, justbaseball.com, where all the prospect write-ups are over there. And then the Just Baseball Show, another podcast I'm doing. We just had Nestor Cortez on, which was a ton of fun, and he's an awesome dude. And hopefully we can start getting some Mets big leaguers too.
It's going to be a great year for baseball. Hopefully the lockout ends soon so we can get to all this great stuff. But again, thank you so much, Arm, for joining me. All right, so that's going to be all for today's edition of Locked On Mets. Again, a big thank you to Aram Leighton for joining me for these 2 episodes to close out the week. As always, thank you for listening. Make sure you follow, rate, and review wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure you follow me on Twitter at Finkelstein Ryan. Follow the show at Locked On Mets. Thank you for making Locked On Mets your first listen every day. Now for your second listen, check out Locked On Bets, hosted by your boy Q and handicap expert Lee Sterling. Get daily picks, blowout specials, wrong team favorite picks, and Lee Sterling's lock of the day by following Locked On Bets wherever you get podcasts.